Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Liz Loves Books, and today I will be doing another tag, and this is the Reader Taste Test tag. I saw Covers with Cassidy over here on YouTube do the tag, and I was like, okay, this is a fun one, so I'm just going to do it too. And the original tag, I will link both the creators down below, as well as Cassidy, since I saw this tag over on her channel. But let's just get started, because there's quite a few questions. Question 1 is, how do you rate books? How do I rate books? I kind of went through in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, so I'll talk about it that way. So a 5-star, basically, it was beautiful, no amazing, no faults. I felt a really strong connection to the characters and the plot, and I wouldn't make any changes. Then a 4-star is I loved it. There was just a few bumps in the road here and there, but I still felt a great connection to the characters and the plot. Then a 3-star usually means I liked it. There were moments that I liked it, some moments where I was like, getting kind of bored or slumping through. And I enjoyed the story and the plot, but there were things that I would change within the plot, and typically I don't connect to the characters as much, or I find a little bit of faults with them. 2 stars, I didn't really like it. I felt that it was boring and that the plot was lackluster, and the characters really have to piss me off to give it like a 2, 2.5, but I have had some, so. And then a 1, I don't think I've ever rated a book 1 star, so I would kind of put it in the category of a DNF or like hate read, but usually I don't hate read, I just DNF so I can move on to something better. And usually I would rate it at like a 1 star if there was like a lot of like problematic themes within the book that weren't addressed or were seen as like okay. So then question number 2, how do you approach reviewing books? What's your review style? Are you analytical, emotional, casual, structured? And I had to think about this for a second because I've really honed in on this year becoming more involved in like the Booksta community and BookTube community, especially with creating actual content. So that's kind of changed how I've reviewed books a little bit. I feel like I am pretty structured with my reviews. I try to keep them similar. So I try to like kind of have a combo of like plot, characters, pacing, what was good, what wasn't. So there is that continuity within my reviews. And I do review books way more over on Goodreads and Storygraph and my Booksta account. So if you want to see more detailed reviews of a lot of things, I usually put them down there. Then question number 3, what's the book that made you a reader? And I can't remember the exact book that made me a reader, but I'm going to go back into like childhood and kind of answer a lot of things that I read as a kid. Warrior Cat series by Aaron Hunter, the Aragon series by Christopher Paolini, The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, which was more into high school for me, Harry Potter as well, and there were so many other book series that I'm sure that I read that made a huge impact on me, but those were the ones that I could remember in this moment. And then question number 4, it says, do you have a genre niche? Are there certain genres you gravitate towards? Or do you read widely across all genres? I feel like I read pretty widely because I read romance, romantasy, fantasy, epic fantasy, graphic novels, manga, thrillers, mysteries. The only things I don't really read much of are classics because they intimidate me and sci-fi. Oh, and I forgot to include horror. I read horror as well. But yeah, sci-fi and classics are really the ones that I don't really move towards. Although sci-fi, I have tried some things and nothing has really stuck. I am currently reading Red Rising, and I've read 1 chapter and I've enjoyed it. So maybe sci-fi fantasy is where the sci-fi bit will stick for me. Then question number 5. Do you generally prefer character-driven or plot-driven stories? I need to have a mixture of both character and plot for me to be invested in the story. Depending on the genre, sometimes if it's like a contemporary romance, I usually want a little bit more character-based, and if it's a fantasy, I want a little bit more plot, but I need to have both. Then question number 6, what's a book you love so much that you don't care if others don't like it, and what's that one book you love enough for everyone? This one was hard for me, so I kind of flip-flopped it around a little. So I decided to pick a book that people do enjoy. It's not that they don't enjoy it, it's just that it's usually their least favorite in the series. And the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver. My favorite in that 5-book series is Hopeless. And usually this is everybody's least favorite. It's the 5th book in the series. It follows Bo, who is one of the Eaton brothers, and he is a retired military man. And then it follows Bailey, who is our female main character. Usually everyone's favorite is Heartless, which I will say that is my second favorite. So there's no hate for Cade, but Hopeless has always been my favorite, and I feel like a lot of times it's people's least. So don't hate on Bo. I love him. Another plug for Chestnut Springs, read it. Thanks. Moving on to question number 7. What's a book you love so much that if someone doesn't like it, you know your reading tastes don't align? Now this is the one that I had to flip-flop around. Because I can do it if it's a book that I don't like. I had trouble doing it the opposite way. So, most sci-fi books I don't like. So if there's someone's favorites who are a lot of sci-fi, I know that our reading tastes probably won't align too much, because that is one genre that I do not veer into very often. Then question number 8. This one was funny. What's in your trash pocket? What books, tropes, or themes that you know are bad but you love them anyway? Now, I feel like a lot of the tropes that people don't like, I also don't like. But I thought of like 2. One's a trope, one's a little bit more of like a plot device. When I was looking up some things, I saw the one that was like the redeemed villain, so someone who was really evil and then becomes redeemed later on. I feel like once you have that evil character set, a lot of people can't get it, can't separate it, but I love someone who was a villain who has become redeemed. And I don't mean like pretending to be redeemed or like, oh, did this one thing, now now the main character thinks that they're perfect. No, like they have to actually have like redeemable qualities. Like for example, in Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wong, our FMC, her name is Sayana. She isn't evil per se. She is evil in the fact that she is very close-minded and somewhat bigoted towards the group in the book that are seen as lesser than. And she kind of goes throughout the book learning how to undo those very harmful ideologies and views. So I would say she's kind of a redeemed villain. And then another one that's not necessarily like a trope, but I guess it's more of a theme, is traveling in books, especially in fantasy. I know a lot of booktubers I watch hate traveling in books, but I like traveling because then you can really see the whole world and appreciate the author's descriptions of the world. And then I also feel like you can get the 2 main characters can develop a much stronger relationship through that. You see the relationship grow while the traveling is occurring, rather than going from A to B instead of like A, point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4, point 5, if that makes any sense. Like, I feel like sometimes if you go from one spot to the next, it just, they're just like, oh yeah, their relationship developed. And I'm like, but I wanted to see that development. And I find that occurs a lot in fantasy. So, question number 9 is, do you have any deal breakers in books? Something that turns you off? Insta-love, I don't like it in books. I find it unrealistic in books and in real life. And typically when they say, oh, it's insta-love, it's usually just insta-lust. Like, especially in romance, let's be honest, it's insta-lust. And then also another thing that I hate is like, usually if it's like a chapter or 2 that you become really, really invested in, and then you find out at the end that it was just a dream. Like, I hate that. In books, in TV, in movies, in any sense of the word. Or like finding out in that kind of same vein, like you thought somebody was real and they ended up not being real the entire time, and they were just used as a plot device to have the main character grow as a person. I watched a whole entire Christmas movie about that once, and it made me so angry. It was the worst. So that I also hate. Then question 10, what's a strong opinion you have about a book released within the last year, whether it's overrated, underrated, or just a take you need to share? Now, I'm going to talk about Frida McFadden a little bit. I listen to her books on audio from the library, like strictly, because I usually don't purchase thrillers. And I listen to her books when I'm kind of entering into a slump, or if I just need something like quick and easy to listen to at work that I can listen to in like a day or two. And I usually always enjoy them. I usually give them like between a 3 to a 4. Usually it's like a 3 or 3.5. But I feel like she has just been releasing so many books so frequently that I feel like the quality of the writing and the plot twists and characters have gone downhill, especially because I've listened to some of her newer releases and some of her really far backlists, and her backlist ones are better than her newer releases currently, in my opinion. So, like, I love The Housemaid and Never Lie. I gave them 4 stars. But then I listened to The Crash, which was released early this year, and like The Housemaid's Wedding, the short story, and the third book in The Housemaid. And I did not really like those. They were like a 2.5 to a 3 star. So I feel like she is definitely becoming much more overrated, and I think it's just because she's pushing out too many books at once. And that might be like her deal with the publisher, I'm not sure, or just her herself. But she needs to like slow her roll and go back to having like really solid good plots. Question 11, what do you look for in writing? What makes a book stand out to you? For me, it's like the style of prose for sure can make or break a book for me, how it's written. And the characters need to have depth. If they don't, I will be bored. I will want to DNF. I will whine and complain about it. So they need to have depth for sure. Question 12, how do you decide what to read next? Plan ahead, mood read, external factors, etc. I usually do a monthly TBR with like 6 to 8 books. Obviously, I've done that here on my channel and over on my bookstore, which I've been doing that for quite a bit longer. But then I do sometimes have mood reading kind of sneak in there. And I have been getting approved for more arcs lately, so I've been having to be a little bit more structured and trying to figure out how and when to read the arcs so that I make sure I get those reviews out before the book is published. So I also usually like to read like 2 books at a time, so I have variety, and they usually have to be different genres. Like currently I am reading Fragile Sanctuary by Catherine Cowles. This is like a romantic suspense. And then, like I said, I'm going to be starting Red Rising today. And question 13. Where do you get inspiration for your booktube content? What sparks your video ideas? I found booktube back in 2020 when nobody had anything to do. And I wish I would have joined the community way earlier. Just because I really enjoy it and I love it. And it's a lot of work. And like when you're this new, like you're not getting paid, you're not getting sponsors, you're not doing anything. You're just taking your own free time out to do things like this. And I'm lucky enough that I only work part-time right now. So I do this on the days where I'm off. I don't know how anybody does it if they work full-time. I don't know how. Props to them. Snaps for them. But anyway, I follow a lot of different creators, and I followed a lot from 2020 to now. Some I've watched since the beginning, some I've found later, some I've stopped watching. But my current favorites are Books and Lala. Her name is Kayla. She's been on here for about 10 years now. I really like her just because of the versatility of all of her vlogs and video concepts. And then I watched Jan Agaton. I found her last year, I think probably through Kayla. And I just like her just because of her uniqueness and her vibe. Gabby Reads, I think I found her this year actually, even though she's a big content creator. Just her reliability and her uploads and her consistency really helps for me and gives me something to look forward to during the week. And then Tori Between Pages, I just love her aesthetic in all of her videos and just her vibes as a person. And then Gavin from Gavin Reads It All, just his creativity with his vlogs. If there's anyone that I would say go and watch their videos and you won't be bored watching a 3-hour vlog, it's Gavin for sure. And then question 14, if you could make any book go viral right now, what would it be? My top book of the year so far, which is Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. It's a YA horror. It has gotten a lot of traction. I've watched bigger booktubers talk about it, but I just feel like it hasn't blown up as it should. Although it did just win Barnes & Noble's YA, I don't know if it's like just general YA award or if it was a award specifically for horror, but they did just win that. So that was pretty cool. And they have another book coming out in the fall that's a YA horror called Hazelthorn. I read the e-arc for it. It's also great. I gave that 4 stars. So I'll read that when it comes out in the fall. And then they're also coming out with their adult debut horror in the spring of next year called You Can Do Nothing Wrong, which I also got approved for. So I need to read that hopefully in the fall. Please read Don't Let the Forest In. You won't regret it, even if horror isn't necessarily your niche. It can get dark. It can get icky. Forewarning, but it's great. Finally, question 15. Who are some booktubers with reading tastes similar to yours? I had to think about this because I have such a variety. So I guess I would say Tori from Tori Between Pages, me and her have a very similar vibe with contemporary romance. Emmy from Emmy Rossum, our fantasy romance vibes are really similar. And even if I haven't read all the things she's read, I want to read all the things she's read. And then Gavin, he also has a separate channel called Gavin Reads All the Manga. We read a lot of very similar fantasy and romance manga graphic novels. Alrighty, that was the reader taste test tag. I hope you guys enjoyed. I look forward to seeing you guys in another video soon. Bye guys.
Baby girl, you are so pretty, 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 pretty. Baby girl, you are so pretty, 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 pretty. Females made you just a drink.